What's up, you guys? I'm here to tell you the top 6 lessons that I've learned from house hacking. I've been doing it ever since 2019 and I'm still doing it right now, and I want to make sure that you are learning the lessons that I've learned and the experiences that I've gathered over time to make sure that you're not making the same mistakes. Starting all the way back in San Diego back in 2019 and now in Denver in 2024. Of course, I'm not exactly in Denver. I'm actually in the Wyoming and Idaho border. Thanks to real estate, I'm able to live in the van life. But nonetheless, I'm here to introduce you everything that I've learned so far. Let's get right into it. All right, so the first lesson I want to introduce to you guys is value your time. I mean, back when I was first starting a house hack, I wanted to make sure that I was saving as much money as possible, and that was just because my mortgage was so high at the time, especially when you're house hacking and own a home in San Diego. Some of the things I would do just to save money was eat out only once a month or only pay for one streaming service like Netflix, and then just do anything I can to save money, right? And there was a lot of things I was willing to do around the house, like paint the walls, put up doors, and just basic stuff like that. But there was one time where there was just heavy rainfall in San Diego, and we did not want to put in the labor, and we just spent so much of our time with our careers, and we wanted to dedicate all that time there to make sure that we can make more money with our W-2 jobs. So with all that rain, a bunch of weeds came up, brushes came up in our front lawn, and it was just a mess. And with it being muddy, we sort of like let it slide for a while, and we didn't touch it for a while. But in the end, we decided, okay, why don't we just make this as xeriscaped as possible so that we don't have to worry about like the water costs, and make it a little bit more drought friendly and San Diego friendly as far as the weather goes, because there's so much sunshine. So we got out our rakes, we got our buckets, we pulled out some weeds, and maybe 30 minutes in the June sun, we were like, screw this, this is not worth our time. So we realized that our time was better spent on our careers, on making more money, and the time that we were spending for landscaping was just not worth it, right? So we decided to hire a professional landscaper so that they could do it on time, within budget, and probably do it a much better condition. So in the end, we actually hired a professional landscaper to do it because they could do it within a certain deadline for a less amount of time, and they could probably do it better than what we could do because they've been doing hundreds of projects like this. This is our first one. So in the end, make sure that the job that you're doing or the project that you're doing is even worth your time. You don't have to do everything yourself, although it is nice to save some money in the end, but make sure you weigh out the pros and cons of, hey, if I do this job, is it even worth it? And will I be making more money if I were to do something else or make more money on a separate job than if I were to work on this project myself? And the number 2 lesson that I've learned while house hacking over these years is that real estate is a long-term game. Although if you do want to make it a short-term game as well, you can house hack. So we all know somebody who's from an older generation that has bought their house for like 15 bucks and a bucket of raspberries, right? And over time, over all these decades, they've had that appreciation in the housing markets to their benefit. And after all that time too, they paid off their loan, and now they're sitting on so much money within their home. And in combination with that, not only was the housing a little bit more affordable, but inflation was not as bad as it is right now. And that like one person could support a family of 4 just from one set of income. Nonetheless, times have changed, and now we, our current generation, have to put down tens of thousands of dollars and like pay for the closing costs as well. And the people that have owned their houses for decades now can now utilize that equity and the appreciation into financing their investment property or just making improvements on the home just based on the value of the home and how much money is within the home. So now that equity could be used for a HELOC, cash out refinancing, or even selling the property if they've been living 2 out of the past 5 years. They could save on $250,000 on taxes. There's a lot of really cool stuff that you could do just by having a starter home, and just getting started is probably the most advantageous thing. I mean, along with holding on to real estate for years. And the two main points I want to bring in for this lesson is that number one, time in the market always beats timing the market. You can never really time the market and determine, okay, this is the peak, it's always going to be going down from now. Whatever it might be, you just got to get in the game. And the second point is that you got to just take advantage with the information that you have. Like, you didn't know back in the day that you should be buying real estate. And now you're educating yourself now in this market, and you just got to play with the cards that you're dealt. Find a way to make those mortgage payments work so that you can take advantage of the market right now. I mean, especially right now where buyers they have a little bit more in the say of negotiations because inventory is going up as of right now in Denver, and you should definitely take advantage of that because sellers are just looking for buyers. And of course, future generations will probably look at your deal right now and they'll be like, wow, I can't believe you bought a house at that price. And the number three lesson I want to instill with you guys that I've learned over time is that older houses will definitely have some problems. And before I continue, there's a lot of things to unpack here, right? With all the lessons that I've learned and experiences that I've seen over time, especially with my clients, it's probably better to be in a community where you can learn all this stuff all in one spot and not just watch YouTube videos. So if you want a more customized approach with your scenario and the things that you want to learn over time, make sure you go check in the description below and join my 100% free school community where we can collaborate, we can join on Q&A calls, and also just post up your struggles and wins over time if you wanted to get into house hacking, real estate investing, or even just buying a home in general. That community will be for you, especially if you're watching a video like this. I feel like you're the perfect person to be part of that community. And now going back to it, the lesson that I learned recently was that older homes will have problems guaranteed. And don't be fooled by those rehabbed properties like with new flooring, new paint, a new kitchen, and things like that. There's always something beneath the walls. So a little story here, my buddy Dan Ginther, who's a realtor, investor over in the Longmont area, he recently bought a place over like right next to Main Street, great location, but the houses over there are like in the early 1900s, almost 100 years old. Him and his business partner knew that they were going to go into these older type homes, and they budgeted appropriately to make sure that they were ready for anything like comes to light. So when they bought the place and got the inspection done, they found out that the electrical panels and the wiring was made of literal horsehair, like horse, like the animal horse. The wiring was made out of horse hair. Crazy. So with that all budgeted and he was ready to go, I mean, he was able to make sure that the electrical was going to work over time. But the thing is, a lot of people just don't budget for that stuff. And because of this older home and the electrical wiring just being antiquated, especially for 2024 standards, like, you just got to make sure you're preparing for this stuff. And with these older homes, maybe it's not the electrical, but it's the plumbing or the attic or the insulation or something weird about it that you just got to make sure you're budgeting into. And if you're curious about how he funded the home, because he didn't bring in the money, it was actually him and a business partner that are joining forces to like not only provide the labor, which is Dan, but his business partner was bringing in the money. So he wanted to have his money work and have Dan do the work for him. It's a good partnership, and if you're ever curious about watching that video, I just released a part 2 on it. Should be right here or right here, just so that you can just follow along in the journey. I think I'm gonna have a part 3 to see what it all looks like at the end. And also, I have specific experiences with these older homes as well. I mean, with these older homes, my San Diego home is a 1930s build, and the studio part of the duplex was built in the 1950s. It is definitely on the older side, and we've had to replace the roof, the foundation, and we know that the electrical is just not going to be up to par for the current modern day standards and modern day appliances. So wrapping things up, a lot of these older homes are in great markets and great neighborhoods, right? So if you were to buy one of those properties, make sure you budget accordingly for it and get a really good inspection done before you close on the property. And speaking of partnerships, let's go into number 4 of the lessons that I've learned while house hacking. And it's don't sell yourself short. Partnerships are a really great way for you to scale and also buy houses more creatively rather than going through a traditional bank. And that's exactly what we were thinking between me and my wife, Kat and I, when we had our San Diego property, and it was just so tough to be approved for a loan at a price point that we really wanted for a single family home. So we realized that we can partner with someone who can sign on the loan and bring in the money, and then we will bring in all the labor, the efforts, and getting it furnished and things like that. So it's a win-win situation for everyone involved. So basically they bring in the money, but I find the deal, I analyze the deal, I manage it, and make sure that everything goes squeaky clean for the operations to make sure that the house makes money. So yeah, it's a lot of work for sure. And we realized that it wasn't that bad of a deal because with us putting all the time and effort, they were funding the deal, so we thought it was completely fine. So in the end, we decided to give our capital partners monthly distributions and 33% equity in the deal. So basically we had two capital partners and then there was us, so that we each had 1/3 equity in the property. So even though our research told us that we could either give them monthly distributions or give them equity, I guess it didn't really matter which one, it just depended on the partnership. We decided to give them both. Give them both 10% annual returns, like cash on cash returns, and also equity in the deal, just to make sure that like it was a good deal for them and they could trust us to put their money into. However, now it's about 2 years of owning the short-term rental and it is a struggle. I mean, we're constantly dealing with the guests. Anything that breaks, we have to replace it. We're working with cleaners. We've had to replace 2 different cleaners now, and now we're working on our 3rd. So that's a struggle as well. And we didn't realize how much more time and effort will be required just to manage this property. And personally, I feel like we've put in more time and effort that's valued more than what the capital partners brought in. And so now we're still keeping up with it and making sure that it is profitable over time. So it's a lot of work for sure. So ultimately, don't sell yourself short. Make sure it's a good deal for both your partners and yourself. And even though the short-term rental in particular to us is going to be a long-term investment, a buy and hold strategy, it's just going to be a lot of struggle at first, and it's going to take a while before we start to see some real gains. And to help out all the newcomers for like house hacking and investing in the Denver area or anywhere in the nation, make sure you leave a like and subscribe, and also comment down below what lessons you have learned if you've already started house hacking or investing wherever it is in real estate. All right, the 5th lesson that I want to give to you guys and the things that I've learned with house hacking is that it's the first 3 rules of real estate: location, location, location. And it really does matter. Like location, location, location is not just a cliche, it is definitely true. Like the condition of the home, you can always improve upon it. Shoot, you can even scrape the property and just rebuild from there, but what you can't replace is the actual location of the lot. And if you're next to a railroad or a graveyard or a mausoleum or something like that that makes it not so attractive, people are not going to want to buy the place and people are not going to want to rent from you. I heard this one really great quote from Grant Cardone, billionaire in the real estate industry, and he said, if it's easy to buy, it'll be hard to sell. But if it's hard to buy, it will be easy to sell. And what does he mean by that? So he means if it is easy to buy, it's going to be hard to sell. So when it's easy to buy, for example, no one wants to buy the property, so you have no competition. And if it is super affordable and you're able to find financing for it, and it's, let's say, $100,000 or $150,000, it's easy to buy means that you will not have any sort of friction in having this in your portfolio. And when that's true, when it's easy to buy, it's going to be hard to sell. So by the time you're trying to sell the property, if it's in a bad location, you are going to be having a hard time finding a buyer for that property. So in the end, it's going to be hard to sell. When it's hard to sell, then you're holding on to a property that not many people want to rent, not that many people want to buy, and it's just going to be a struggle for you if you want to offload that property. Now, on the opposite side of that coin, if it's hard to buy, it will be easy to sell. So if it's hard to buy, for example, you have a bunch of competition buying that property and you have to go through a bidding war and you have to just like cater to what the sellers want in order to buy that property. And in addition to that, it just costs a lot of money. There's a lot of friction in order for you to buy this property. That's what makes it really hard to buy. So let's say you do end up buying that property and you have it in your possession now and you hold on to the property and you say it's just ready to sell. You will find it to be so easy to sell in the end because you will have that same experience, except now on the opposite end as the seller for future buyers. So what do I mean by that? With being a seller and being on the opposite end of the table, you can now have a bidding war and have like the highest and best offer for your property. In addition to that, people want to rent from you and people want to buy. So location, 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 it will be super important in the future. And if it's easy to buy, it'll be hard to sell. If it's hard to buy, it'll be easy to sell. So the last thing I wanted to bring up about that location, 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 and hard to buy, easy to sell, that's why I keep investing in these really good spots like Denver and San Diego, where employers want to be here, employees want to be here, people want to travel there. I mean, there's so many advantages to having that friction up front to try to buy the place. And I know that in the end, when I try to sell the property, it'll be so easy and I will see some massive gains in appreciation over time. All right, so the last thing that I want to bring up, number 6, and if you've already gotten this far, hopefully you found some value, and make sure you like and subscribe to this video and my channel. I mean, I want to make sure that other people and yourself do not miss any great value that I'm trying to put in here. And I think also the message is, if you invest in real estate, you can live the life you want, and this is the life that I want to live. Say hi to Archie. That like, thanks to real estate investing, you can live the life that you want. And with me, it's living the van life, and I could be in places like this where it's absolutely beautiful, 70 degrees right now, and it's 8:30 in the morning. I absolutely love it. So nonetheless, going on to number 6, co-living. If you were to do the rent by the room strategy, which is also co-living, I'm gonna use those interchangeably, make sure you have 2 fridges or 2 kitchens. One of those 2, or maybe even both, to make things even better for your investment property. So I've done a number of vlog tours and investment tours of people's properties that have that co-living strategy or the rent by the room strategy, same thing, where they've taught me that the amount of people that you have in the house will definitely improve the revenue that you're bringing in. But with all those people living in one place, you got to make sure there's no animosity within the household. And usually all the fights or all the tension within the household is within the common rooms of the house. So that comes in the form of like the kitchen space, the living room, and all that good stuff. So let's say you have a 6-bedroom place and you're like living in one of those bedrooms and you're renting out 5 other bedrooms, which means you can have potentially 6 people, maybe even more if they have a significant other, like per bedroom living in the house. So that's at least 6 people living in the house. And as you can imagine, if they were to all share one kitchen, it's going to be kind of a struggle to have like pots and pans, let's say food prep, or even people holding their groceries all in one place, especially if you just have one kitchen or one refrigerator. So what I have learned is that the people that own these co-living or rent by the room houses, they label everything in the cupboards. For example, like, hey, this is room 1, everything within this cupboard is for room 1, everything in this cupboard is for room 2, and yada, yada, yada. And also another thing is that they have had more than one kitchen or more than one refrigerator. For example, one refrigerator in the main kitchen, one refrigerator in the basement, and then a deep freezer in the garage. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've heard from a lot of my clients or a lot of my friends who have this rent by the room strategy going on, where they have like one of the renters just go to Costco and it just takes up half of a fridge, and that's just for one person. And so with that, like, with them taking up all that space in just one refrigerator, it kind of sucks for everyone else. Maybe you just don't have people go on these Costco runs. But nonetheless, it's so much better to be prepared for that stuff and make sure that you're able to accommodate for that in the future and not have any points of contention when you are doing the rent by the room strategy. The rent by the room strategy is still one of the best ways to invest in real estate, especially in this market with a really high interest rates. I mean, if we were to do some rough numbers, if you were to rent out 5 bedrooms at $850 per month per bedroom, you're looking at what? $4,500, something like that per month that you're getting in revenue. It's crazy what the returns can be for that kind of strategy. So if you were to go down that path, make sure you take those extra precautions to make sure there's extra parking or an extra refrigerator, extra kitchen, and make sure that the common places are ready to go for those people that are living with you, or when you move out, rent out that 6 bedroom and all that good stuff. Just implementing the same lessons learned from all those people and myself. And that is it. Those are the 6 lessons that I've learned, especially with house hacking. And I'm sure I'm gonna make another video like this for you sometime in the future, just because I'm constantly learning and I'm working with clients that are house hacking all the time. Here you are reaping the benefits of our experiences, and you don't have to go through all the problems that we've experienced, because now we're providing the answer for you. So greetings from Wyoming and Wyoming-Idaho border. We're just south of the Grand Tetons. We couldn't stay in the national park because we have Archie here. He's right there. There he is. We couldn't go inside the national park. We're in the national forest just outside of it, but I absolutely love this place. Hold on real tight because I want to show you what our view looks like, and you can see the river right behind me, and you can hear it all night too. It's absolutely amazing and stunning. So if you wanted to live the life that you want, make sure you house and reap the benefits of the long-term gains, and take these lessons, take them to heart. And if you ever want to have a more customized approach, make sure you hit me up. All my contact information is down below in the description. Join the school community. It's 100% free. Or if you know someone that will take great benefit in this or in that community, make sure you send it over to them, and make sure you tell them to join the school community. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week.